I gotta say, I feel really good about my Star Wars Jedi Survivor review right now. Survivor's a great game, or at least it should be, but it's really been inflicted by so many technical issues which are hurting the game at launch, and it's so depressing to see. Now, pre-launch, I wasn't sure how bad these issues would be. Obviously, I had played the game, and it was at times very bad for me. Cutscenes were broken, etc. I had spoke to other people who had played the game on PC. Most had some level of difficulty, but we were also all playing on somewhat high-end GPUs. I've got a 3080 Ti, so not the most recent generation, but still an expensive graphics card, and I was seeing major dips. Now, as the game has gone wide to a much larger audience, these issues are present not only in PC, but to varying degrees across the consoles, especially the Xbox, mostly the Xbox it seems. And I gotta say, I find some of this very frustrating, not just the situation itself, which I'm going to talk about, but the people who deny that there's any issue, who say, oh, you just need 60 FPS, it's just a number that means something to you, and that just completely misses the point. For one, just because you as an individual may be having a good experience, that doesn't mean that other people aren't having bad experiences. Just like I'm not going to discount people who didn't have any problems when they play the game. However, when you have sizable populations really struggle to run the game, then you know there's a serious issue. Like, I saw this take from Jason Schreier, someone I usually like, but I mean, just so arrogant. He said, it's incredible how many people are sharing their opinions on the performance of a game they haven't played yet with someone who's been playing it for a week and has said several times it runs fine, as if Jason Schreier is the only person in the world who got a review copy or has seen footage of the game. Like, that's just arrogance, and it's the number one way for me to take you significantly less seriously as a video games journalist. And I'm not just talking anecdotally. This has been confirmed by reputable outlets, including Digital Foundry, who called it the worst AAA PC port of 2023. That is an achievement. Just not one you want to get. And if you look at their breakdown, which I'm not going to just steal their work, go watch their video, you can see that the issues are related to things like shader compilations, and that the drops are present even on the most expensive PCs. And that's what's really hurting the game right now. I'm seeing big YouTubers like Mudahar, who might as well have a NASA computer, post videos of him getting sub 30 FPSs. That's just not good. And it sucks because there's nothing you can do in the settings to change this issue. It's just going to exist. Putting everything to low, turning ray tracing on or off, it really doesn't matter. You're probably going to suffer those small stutters regardless. They explain the reasons why in the Digital Foundry video, but most computers are also just getting really terrible frame rate, which you may not realize, but does impact how the game feels. I played it on an Xbox Series X. I noticed the frame rate as well. I saw a comparison video which showed it dropping quite frequently, but still, I beat the game. A lot of the game-breaking issues, or at least some of the ones that I experienced pre-launch, have been fixed. For example, when I was playing, cutscene audio completely broke. I don't think that's still an issue now. Let me know in the comments if it is, but I was at like the emotional cutscenes of the game, and audio was repeating or skipping. I was having people just fly around the screen. Just absolute nonsense. But the thing that really bothers me is not the what has happened, but the why and the how. Some of you may remember that Jedi Fallen Order also had a really bad launch on PC. It was eventually improved, but the game launched poorly. This one to launch in an even worse state is just really shocking. And what's really bothering me is that there's no way they didn't know this was an issue. When I was testing the game before a review, like, I emailed them being like, my game is just straight up broken. I thought that it might be a specific issue with some driver set I was running. I actually thought that there might be an issue with my computer not getting the proper voltage or not getting enough power to the GPU. But I talked to my other friends running this on PC, and lo and behold, all of them have, or at least most of them have, the same issue to some extent. What they tell me is submit a screenshot of certain things and they'll try to send me a PlayStation 5 code. Now, I'm not going to assume malice, but it is funny because PlayStation 5 is the version that does seem to work, and it's the version I've seen most reviews on. Again, I think that is probably just due to the popularity of the PlayStation 5, and I did end up getting an Xbox code anyway, so I don't think there's some grand conspiracy here in terms of misleading reviewers, but I also just don't like the process of this game's launch. There is zero chance that EA and Respawn weren't aware that Jedi Survivor was going to have some very serious launch issues. They had to have known because they're so pervasive, and like Digital Foundry points out, some of the issues are just inherent to how the game handles certain mechanics like shader compilation. Again, I'm really going to recommend you guys check that video out if you're at all interested in the technical side of this, because all I can say is that I never get high frame rates and there's constant stuttering. They explain the reason why. And I'm also not going to lie, I'm a little frustrated from a game reviewer standpoint because this just sucks. Like, I put out a review on the game, 500,000 people saw it. I'm thankful that I highlighted the technical issues, but we didn't know the full extent of these issues, and we also didn't know how the patch situation was really going to work. We knew that there were patches launching. Apparently they were going to fix or at least improve performance. They fixed some things. It seems like the cutscene breaking is improved, but otherwise, like, I don't know. And I also just feel a little frustrated by the preview event too. And it sucks because I know I'm probably risking getting kicked out of the program for saying this, but we didn't get to capture our own footage we were initially supposed to be able to, and playing the game, some of the stuttering was pretty obvious at certain points. I remember the part where you're on Kobo and you go to that plateau. On my game, I noticed the frames dropped like below probably 15. I play right now with an FPS counter up just so when I see something happening, I check and make sure I'm not going crazy. Obviously, the computers we tested on, which were probably specifically designed to run high-end games, are still having that issue. And, you know, when you test a game, you don't know how old the version is. Often things like that do get worked out, but I wish I could have had some of that footage, and it feels a bit misleading to my audience, I guess, not being able to show them my gameplay and also not being able, more importantly, for me to reflect on it. When I tested Star Wars Squadrons, I recorded that game, I rewatched the footage many times, and I noticed things, I talked about them. If I had made all the videos I made with that Jedi Survivor footage, I would have noticed all of these little things that, you know, I kind of picked up on during the test, but didn't end up mentioning as much as I would have liked to when putting out the final preview video. And it sucks because I know this decision wasn't made by the boots on the ground people. I spoke to lots of designers, developers, art people at Respawn. Obviously, this isn't their doing. This is a decision by On High. They already delayed the game. Obviously, it just needed more time. That's not like a decision that the little people get to make, and I feel so bad because their game is being torpedoed right now. I'm sure sales are still good, but if you look at the Steam page for Jedi Survivor, it's getting mixed reviews, literally 50% negative reviews. Had this game launched in a state where it didn't have these technical limitations, it would be approaching Game of the Year status. I really do believe that. And all we have in response to this right now is a note from EA, Respawn, and Lucasfilm Games. But even that minimizes the issue. Like, it says the issue is mostly being experienced by people on Windows 10, not me, not a lot of people, or those with high-end GPUs and lower performing CPUs. I've got a pretty high-end CPU, a 5950X. It is more of an editing CPU based on my understanding, but still not low end. This issue is pervasive. There's a reason the game is getting such mixed reviews on Steam, and it's not because only those with $5,000 PCs are struggling. It's everybody, and it's Xbox. I don't know. I'm just so disappointed right now. I hope they can fix it. It's going to take a while. These patches, these tests always take a while. Star Wars Squadrons had an issue at launch too. That time it was a bit less predictable because the launch issue, from what I remember anyway, was mostly related to online server functionality, but that really hurt the game's launch. I don't know. Let me know your guys' thoughts down below.